Today on the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, we're talking about Marvel rival impressions, Pokemon games in 2024, and to get to know us a little better, what our favorite controllers are ever. So welcome to the newest episode of the Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club. Cue the intro.
I forgot about that. I was not ready on the volume control, but that's okay.
My bad. Is it loud on your end? I kind of... podcast listeners? Okay. Podcast listeners, if it's too loud on your end, let me know. I can definitely not blow out your eardrums in the first 10 seconds of the podcast. But hey, we're here. We made it. As you know, my name is Samson, aka at SamsonXP on all the socials. Also go by Booty on a very various games. And joining me today, as always, is Jordan, Sir Dr. JM. Good evening, Jordan.
Good evening. It sounds very ominous.
Yeah, I mean, it is a...
little vampiric.
No, it's not a spooky season at all. It's like summer, and it's super nice. Went for a walk before this.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's a nice 20 degrees here.
Oh,
which I can't complain about. Are you cooking all the way over in the... Is the prairies, Alberta?
Yeah. Or the prairies. Yeah. Actually, it's not too bad now. Now that we're past this heat wave that we had the past couple weeks, it cools off in the evening to a nice kind of temperature. So right now it's 18, which is
oh, I love
the
it.
sun's just kind of going down. It's still up a little bit, so it's just perfect walking temperature. We're getting up to 27, 28 during the day, so it's still hot, still beach weather, but the nights are, you can sleep if you open a window. You can sleep comfortably, whereas that heat wave is just roasting us. So
we all love a good evening walk. I was just on an evening walk playing a game that I will talk about in one of our later sessions.
I wonder what it could be.
But first, we got a jam-packed episode, so let's dive right into it. Marvel Rivals impressions. So let me tell you the story about how I got a code. I'm very blessed to be able to work from home on some days. I think this was yesterday where I'm okay, I'll dig into figuring out how I can get a code. And then it's so janky. Let me rant for a second. The way they rolled out this beta is so janky, and I was actually validated by it by Briggsy Cakes, friend of the show, fellow guest. I was just on her stream and she was ranting about how it's betas are such a marketing ploy now. Mm-hmm. It's so, I don't know if unethical is the word that I would use, but it's so manipulative to build hype and marketing, which I get. They want to market their game, but in the end, folks like us who want to play the game and want to support it can't. Yeah. Anyways, I watched the stream for an hour, and then what you do is the keys always drop at, I think it's 0 o'clock UTC, so 5 p.m. Pacific. So I had the window. I farmed my 1 hour of watch time. I was ready. On the website, 5 p.m. rolls by. And then I refresh, and I had to relog into Twitch. Fine. As I'm relogging into Twitch, nothing happens. It doesn't click. It says error, and I'm okay, here we go. Luckily, it only aired for a minute. Oh, I finally get in, and I click Steam because that's my preferred platform. I want to play on PC, and it says, "Oh, we're out of Steam keys. Sorry." It's what, dude? It's 5:01. Sure. So then I was all right, the other options were Xbox and PlayStation. So, all right, I guess I'll settle for PlayStation.
I guess.
Yeah, God. I guess, yeah.
PC gamers, I tell you.
I got the PS5 key, I redeemed it. And then I was all right, I guess I'll try this game eventually. Then I played something else last night. Today, literally about 2 hours before we record the show, I finally played Marvel Rivals. And I played about 4 games.
Nice.
2 on my own, 2 with Briggsy on her stream. Or their stream.
Nice.
And then, I think I got a feel of the game. People saying it's an Overwatch clone. It does kind of present itself that way. And it does kind of feel that way in the mechanics and the characters and the idea. Even the fact that you can switch mid-fight is Overwatch's DNA. But I want to say it's a little closer to another game that I also have racked hundreds of hours on called Smite, where I feel like Overwatch, and I'm getting in nitty gritty. If you don't know what Marvel Rivals is, it's an Overwatch kind of hero shooter. Very 66. Cool. Animations are great. Polish is out the window. I'm very excited.
Big difference between Overwatch and Marvel Rivals is probably the perspective. Overwatch, traditionally first person. And Marvel Rivals, third person, of course.
Yeah. Actually, I'll loop back on that point in a bit. But people are saying that it is like an Overwatch clone, but I would say if for me in my like short, probably hour time playing, it was closer to a game called Smite. And Smite is a third person MOBA where you play as different gods, but it's all controlled in third person. I would say it's like it's very flat in its gameplay, but it's really fun. It's like tons of, I think there's like hundreds of gods now or characters now.
Oh, really?
It's been around for like 10 years, Jordan. Like I've been playing this since I was like a teenager.
I remember when it launched, because I mean, like 10 years was only shortly before Overwatch, right? I remember when it came out, but I also remember never really knowing what kind of a game it was. Right? I mean, obviously, if I'd bothered to look at a Twitch stream or YouTube video or whatever, I would have found out. But I remember like seeing art for it, seeing the cover, seeing it promoted places, but never understanding what is the actual play style of this game, right?
It is a MOBA. Like if you played a main mode, it is very much like a MOBA. You're pushing 3 lanes, you're knocking down towers.
Okay. Yeah.
You're like farming the jungle.
Minions running around you type thing.
The minions going. So it's very much that kind of game. Mostly I played the arena mode, which is more like a deathmatch mode, or the assault mode, which is ARAM for those who know League of Legends. So I played the more casual modes. The reason why I think of that comparison, and I don't know if people agree with me or even thought of it, but it's because like, well, maybe one, it's the third person perspective, but I also feel like there's no physics to the game yet.
Oh,
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I haven't played the game enough, but a lot of Marvel Rivals is mechanics or weapons or all that. It's like pretty straightforward. Like I shoot, not hit scan, but I'll shoot a direction and my thing will go that direction. Whereas in Overwatch, depending on the way you slide down a hill, you'll go a different speed. When you're Bastion and you use your grenade, you can bank it off walls.
Right.
Junkrat especially, you can bank your shot off walls. You can use the geometry in different ways.
Simple geometry.
Oh, yeah, simple geometry. So that's kind of my quick perspective on that. Marvel Rivals is like very straightforward. You shoot, this happens. Whereas Overwatch is like there's some sort of other dimension to it.
Sure.
And I say physics, but I don't know if that's the right word because the destructible environments in Marvel Rivals is also pretty cool. Like in one of my first games, Iron Man ulted from above and it blew up a whole building on the right side of the map.
Cool. Yeah.
That whole building was gone, and now we had this whole other side of the map to fight on and to try to wrap around the enemy. So that kind of stuff is really interesting to me, and I'd love to play more. But that darn beta program.
Is the beta finished then? Is it?
I think the last day is today, and the day we're recording is July 1st. So I think it's ending super soon, which sucks because I feel like I just started to care about it 2 days ago. Even though I heard about this game for a long time, I'm really excited. All my friends are really excited, but it's like, man, very deleted the show. We are 2 full-time working folks. All our friends are as well. We don't have the time to like farm keys and wait 5 p.m. exactly and try to grab a key. Like if you're not getting access, like we're okay waiting till it comes out next year, which is also crazy.
Yeah. That was a big thing for me is like you, I'm very interested. I think you went to a midnight release of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
I went the next evening just because I'm very conscious of spoilers when it comes to the MCU. So I didn't want anything spoiled and I didn't have anything spoiled, which was awesome. But yeah, I love Marvel. I love the Overwatch style. So I wouldn't say all in on Marvel Rivals until this beta started and a lot of streamers that I watched started playing it, having a really good time. Shout out to Andy Cortez, who is probably my number 1 most watched Twitch stream, also his YouTube VODs. I'm constantly going back just to watch his streams that I miss because, I like the guy, but watching the Marvel Rival stuff, I was so itching to play because it looks fun. And obviously in this case, Andy has a good experience with Overwatch as well. He was a fan too. And, I think most people that liked or enjoyed Overwatch said that Marvel Rivals to a degree was similar and fun. But it's interesting that you bring up the sort of, I don't know how to describe it either, but that sort of physics element, because that was one kind of thing that I had noticed in watching streamers play the game. And I don't know if there's a better word to describe it, but I would have described it as flat. which seems strange because obviously Iron Man's flying around in the air. Hela uses her alt and she, literally goes up and is kind of a Farah style point of view, throwing, whatever blasts down. And there's obviously lots of mobility to the game, but it's almost like the way, like you said, the way the physics interacts with the characters and everything doesn't feel impactful maybe as a game like Overwatch, where Overwatch, every player and ability and things have sort of seem like they have rules, right? Whereas it felt like watching Marvel Rivals, each individual character is just kind of almost on their own plane kind of thing. I really don't know how to describe it. It's an odd thing to describe, but I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that's kind of where like there's weight. I always think about this in games that have like polish. It's when the developers or whoever sell the weight of the characters of the games. Like Mario Kart is the example that I always go back to. You can you can feel your cart like move and glide in different ways and the traction on the ground. Even though it's all pixels and sounds and all that on the screen, there's some sort of interaction there that the devs did really well at tricking us into feeling weight, I guess. And Marvel Rivals, like, not that it's a bad thing that it doesn't have weight, because tons of games don't, and they're great. Like Smite, like I said, I played hundreds of hours, but there's no, like, it's kind of flat. Like, there's no weight to characters. Maybe that's my way of saying your flatness. I get it. It's an odd thing to describe, but I think I'm on the, just from watching, obviously I didn't get a chance to play, but from what I've seen, I got that impression as well, which is strange. It is. But regardless, I mean, I like Marvel. I like the characters. That's right. Yeah. I'm excited to try it out eventually. And I think I heard there's going to be an open beta at some point because the game doesn't actually come out officially until 2025, which is crazy. That is the crazy thing for me, because when I booted it up on PlayStation, like, there weren't any bugs. Got into the menus, beautiful animations. The menus were clear. Got into a game super quick. Like, everyone's playing this, of course. And then I wouldn't say there wasn't any. Yeah, I wouldn't say there isn't like any bugs. Like, sure, some lag spikes, but that was just probably because my PlayStation's on the other side of the apartment of the router. But I would say the game's pretty polished. Now, we said like maybe they're just following the Overwatch rulebook. Like, I don't know if you remember 2015, they had the closed beta test.
True, yeah.
All the way until 2016, and then they finally like put the game out. So maybe they're just doing the extra due diligence to make sure their launch is super smooth, because they know this game is going to be insanely popular for a couple months after it comes out.
That is a good point. And the one thing that I wonder about, because I don't think they've spoken much on it, is, of course, it always comes back to it. What is the monetization going to be? Because I believe we know it's going to be free to play. 99,000% means there's going to be a battle pass of some sort. There's going to be cosmetic unlockables. And knowing NetEase, the company that is making it or publishing it, I'm not sure. I think they're publishing maybe. But anyways, wouldn't surprise me if there's characters locked behind a paywall, which obviously we've talked about before. Overwatch did it. They're now moving away from it. Other companies have done it too. But the point is, I do have a slight concern that these betas are giving access to a whole suite of characters, and upon release, you're not going to have all those characters, right? Unless you buy in or something like that. Because it does seem like there's a lot of heroes.
There's a lot, and they with this beta, I think they released like Jeff the Baby, Land Shark.
There's 2 more.
I want to give the benefit of the doubt. I want to say that they should, or they are going to do all characters free, because that's how you get people into the game.
That'd be awesome.
Like, for example, my fiance, she really wants to play this game, but then it's like, all right, let's play. Oh, Scarlet Witch is behind a paywall. It's your favorite Marvel character, but you can't. So then it's like, all right, now you just lost the customer. Whereas you get them in, you get them playing, and then just sell those shop skins, and as long as they have enough for each character, I feel like they can make it work with all characters free.
I hope they do. Honestly, because I mean, nobody wants to jump into the game thinking they get to play their favorite character, and then, surprise, this character's behind a paywall, right?
Yeah.
There would obviously be some that are like, Yeah, honestly, I would wonder how they would decide which to put behind a paywall if they did.
Which
Because
characters?
it's so subjective of like, well, everyone likes Iron Man, probably. But, who's a character they could get away with putting behind a paywall because, it's not everybody's favorite character. But at the same time, do you want to put everybody's favorite character behind a paywall just because then they'll pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of two sides to the same coin. But anyways.
Yeah.
Who'd you like playing as?
Ooh, all right. So I didn't get to play every character. I played a little bit of Punisher, Scarlet Witch, Hela, and I think that's about it. I mostly gravitated towards Scarlet Witch just because it was the character I recognized the most. And then the kit was pretty simple. Like her auto aim was actually, I think, Moira's like suck, the damage suck, and then you have like a couple super shots, and you can fade away. So she was actually pretty fun to play, like a damage dealer, and the game feels good, right? Like I want to reiterate that it does actually feel very solid and tight, and the responsiveness of like, oh, did I hit them? Yes, I did.
Okay,
all of that feels really good. I think I like Scarlet Witch the most. A Punisher was good for beginners because he was very much like I have a smoke, I have a turret, I have a grappling hook, and then
he has a grappling hook. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was like Widowmaker, like you can go up to a thing. And then Hela was the one I didn't get the most time, but she also felt very good to play. I will say, like, it does fall into the Overwatch camp that it's like kind of chaotic and you don't really know what's going on because colors are flying everywhere. You're like, all right, we push together. I'm not sure how to sync our ultimates together, but that's also because I'm new to the game and I haven't figured everyone out yet. So I'm sure that'll come, and I'm excited. I'm excited to do that kind of stuff, right?
Fair enough.
Awesome. Yeah, so hoping Marvel Rivals comes sooner than later. But while we're waiting, hopefully not too long, because 2025 is 6 months away. Still feels like a long time. Let's talk about some games that I've kind of gone back to. I want to talk about Pokemon games. Speaking about my walk earlier, I recently got back into Pokemon Go. During the first 4 years, and then especially during COVID, has it been 4 years? Maybe 6. I played this game a lot. I was decently hardcore. Like I got to level 40 in 2020, so in about 4 years. And I've been playing since day one, 2016. And I've fallen off in the last couple of years, I think just because like it became kind of the same, right? You like chase the raids, catch some Pokemon. Once you caught them, I'm not really a PvP guy, so I don't really care about getting better Mons. I just want to collect monsters. And then I just kind of fell off for about 2 years. And then shout out to my buddy Aaron, who after years of us telling him, was like, "Oh, you should just play Pokemon. Like, this is a game you'd like." He did not want to play Pokemon Go. And then he got back into it. And then me and my fiance and all our friends got back into it. So last weekend we did Lucario Raid Day, Mega Lucario Raid Day. And we ended up walking like 22 kilometers around the park for over 3 hours, just catching these NFTs, more or less.
Hey, you can't sell them.
It was fun. Yeah, true. And it was just fun to like be outside and socialize. You end up chatting with folks and meeting new people. And it's just like super simple game mechanically to play, so you're still able to like chat with your friends and catch up or take a break and it won't be too bad. And it's like when someone gets a shiny, like everyone celebrates. It's like we did this, even though it's complete RNG, but you were there in the moment and it's exciting. So that's a pretty fun game to play. My next Pokemon game I got back into is Pokemon Unite. I won a contest for a hope from at Couple of Gaming. So I just won a character.
Wow, okay.
For paying for characters when you're chatting about that. And that has been kind of interesting. Like that hasn't hooked me as much. It's more of like I want something a little more involved than Marvel Snap. But also simple enough that I can play at the gym.
Had you played it before?
Yeah, when it came out, I forget how long ago, 2022, 2021.
Yeah.
Played it when it launched. But then, and this issue still stands, and it's kind of why like I can't find a group to play it. You have to either grind for a really long time or to pay money to upgrade your items, because the items scale with these like tickets, like in-game resources that you can farm as you play, or swipe your credit card and get it all to max right away.
Swipe the card, yeah.
So that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm like, all right, like that kind of sucks. Somehow I ended up playing enough, and they give out like free rewards that you're able to max out your items once in a while. But maybe you're like, oh, I was playing Ho-Oh, but now I want to play as Phalanx. Let me get these items. Oh, my items aren't upgraded. Now it's like I'm not as optimal as I can be. That doesn't feel good when you lose a fight because the other team had like full items or something.
Right.
So that kind of sucks. It's a little pay to win that way, which sucks because the game is actually quite addicting. It's
nice.
Well, it's quite fun. That's why it's addicting. My last Pokemon game I recently got into is a ROM hack called Pokemon Unbound. Let me see if I can share a little video here for our YouTube watchers. All right. So shout out to the YouTube channel Flux. I'm just playing their Pokemon Unbound montage here. And it's a ROM hack, but it's a very like complete ROM hack where I think there's a completely new story. They have monsters from future games that aren't in this style of game, so they redid a lot of the sprite art. And right off the hook, you're like thrown into this time traveling, like super villain team origin story, and you're like you wake up in a prison more or less, and you're trying to break out. It's pretty complete package. Yes, the writing is very cheesy, but the game like runs well. Well, it's Pokemon. You start off with different starters, and it's just kind of like, oh, and also like it asks you how hard you want the game to be, like how hard you want the puzzles to be, and how hard you want the battles to be, which I think is cool. So it has a lot of quality of life stuff in Pokemon games that aren't in the mainline games, but are in this fan game. So Pokemon Unbound is my other pick. As you can see, I think you're fighting weird demons. So
the warrior, they're just warriors. Okay, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm sure they're monsters. So Pokemon Unbound,
That's pretty
Pokemon
cool.
Unite, and Pokemon Go. I'm on my little Pokemon romp this past 2 weeks.
Clearly.
Yeah. Have you been playing anything this past week, Jordan?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, I have not been playing much other than Shadow of the Erdtree. Of course, it always comes back to Elden Ring. Obviously, the expansion came out a few months ago now, and I feel like everyone's kind of moved on from it for the most part. But I just, honestly, with Elden Ring and the Dark Souls games and everything, I just kind of take my time. They are such, obviously, grueling games. They're known for being hard. But they also, there's a decent amount of game there, right? And especially with Elden Ring, obviously being open world and the expansion being open world and everything. I really don't mind just, hey, I'm going to spend an hour or 2 hours just exploring this area because they're so open. It always feels like there's something new to find, or there's very rarely a dead end sort of thing. Everything always, the level design always connects back to some other place, or there's something you missed, or there's a tunnel that leads to some treasure fight, whatever. So I've really just kind of been very thoroughly exploring through Shadow of the Erdtree. And just this past week, I finally kind of made sort of a push to make some real progress, not just exploring, but also beat some bosses. And I believe there are 10 or 11 sort of core major bosses throughout the DLC. And I now have 2 of them left. I think I did 4 or 5 over just this past week. Now, I was already at essentially 3 of them, and I just hadn't actually beaten them. But I finally did kind of break through. So I felt like I was making some real meaningful progress, which is always exciting. And if you are playing, then you'll know the name Bale. He's a big dragon, big scary dragon. He's a baddie. And I think everything I've read is he's maybe the second hardest boss in the DLC, and I one-timed him. So that felt pretty good. Now, I do think it largely. Thank you.
You got to represent.
Hold the applause, everyone. It's okay. But I do think that it largely came down to the game's RNG. I think I got kind of lucky with, he didn't pull out some moves, and when he did pull out some of his bigger moves that kind of annihilate people or just take them out, he unleashed them on, when you walk in the arena, you have the option to summon in an NPC character who you've encountered earlier in the game, and he says, if you fight Bale, summon me in because I need to defeat him. And so I summoned him in, and I think he took the brunt of some of the attacks. And I just kind of held back and let it happen to him.
Yeah, you're just helping out a fellow NPC.
Exactly. But still, I was very excited when I was going to bed. It was like 1:15 in the morning or something. Oh, wow. And I was like, okay, I know he's in here. I'm going to go check out the arena and just see what the fight is like.
Yeah.
And I go in and I'm fighting, and I'm like, is this going to happen? I was like, there's no way I one time. And then sure enough, I did. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is awesome. So anyways, excited to make some real progress in it. Because like I say, for a while there, I was just kind of stalling out, just, digging into every nook and cranny. And it's fun. It's always fun, but it also doesn't feel like you're progressing much. And then, yeah, I just knocked out like 5 bosses last week. And it was like, all right, now we're charging through here. So I pretty much got one area. No. I've got one sort of, I think they call them legacy dungeons to explore. And then I've got just the final area. So that legacy dungeon will take me to one of the remaining major bosses. And then that final area takes me to the final boss, who unfortunately I've already had it spoiled who it is. I'm not going to spoil it here because people might be concerned about that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That final legacy dungeon I'm excited for, because I really do find I kind of like those style areas more, where they really focus in, and it feels more like the old school Souls games, Bloodborne, that kind of thing, where it's less open world. I like having the open world to connect these things, but I do find it's a lot less stressful for me when I know the path, or at least I know there's a path. It might be a corridor that's a straight line. There's maybe some other doorways you can go through, but they all kind of come back to that main path. Kind of like that style. I just find it easier to manage, less to explore, less nooks and crannies. So anyways, Looking forward to getting back to it. But
yeah, if you do finish it in this upcoming week, would we expect a Shadow of the Erd Tree review from you on next week's episode?
We could do that.
Cool.
I'll let's see, what day is today? Today's Wednesday. I should have some time to play. Maybe I'll make a push to finish it before next episode.
Let's go. Let's do it. Yep. And then you'll get your super late Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree review.
I prefer to call it a realistically timed Shadow of the Erd Tree review.
That is
for
true.
People who actually work full-time jobs and stuff.
Let's do it. Let's coin that term and trademark it and take it to the bank. Great. Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about our game recommendations for the week, but I don't actually have too much. I recommended 3 Pokemon games and Marvel Rivals. I think you can count that as a recommendation, but my recommendation for the week is a game I haven't played yet. I'm excited to play it because I'm going to take it camping this long weekend. By long weekend, there's a holiday here in BC on Monday. So as most people do in the summer, we're going to the woods. However, I like to play video games in nature. I think I recently learned that is kind of a hot take, but we'll touch on that in a second. I am going to play a game coming out tomorrow called Thank Goodness You're Here, which is actually published by... Let me pull up the thing. Developed by Cole Supper. Publisher is Panic, and I believe it's the same publisher as Untitled Goose Game. So I love Untitled Goose Game. It's related to Untitled Goose Game in some way, but yeah, I loved Untitled Goose Game. So Panic, I think they know what they're looking for. Let me try to show off the video here, or the
gameplay.
The gameplay here for our video watchers. Here's the Steam page, but it's this kind of goofy looking cartoony game. You could see the Untitled Goose Game vibes in it. You're like kind of silly moving around. I don't really know what this game is about. I think you're this little yellow guy helping people, but it's this art style I love. I love weird non-traditional games like this. Okay. I did not see that count part. I was just sold when it said it was related to Goose Game in some way. I also heard it's really short, so I'm going to be taking this game onto my Steam Deck and playing it in the woods in nature. Other than that, I recommend you play your backlog this week, because I'm sure you have it, like me.
Well, and since you jogged my memory, I'll make a recommendation. That is not a game I played this week, but you brought up Untitled Goose Game, and I'm glad to hear that you're a fan, because I cannot tell you how big of a fan of Untitled Goose Game I am.
Really?
And I was
I didn't notice
extremely
that.
late to the party. So,
Yeah.
when do you remember what year it came out? 2002? No,
let
sorry,
me pull up the
yeah, sure,
Steam page here. It came out in 2020.
2020. Oh,
Wow,
I was going to
4
say
years ago.
2022. That
Yeah.
is a while ago. But of course, the year it came out, it won the Dice Awards Best Game of the Year or whatever. And I think it that really took a lot of people, or caught a lot of people off guard. And for someone like me who had not really much interest in it, I was very much like, wow, like, the big thing about the Dice Awards, of course, is it's the industry that is voting on those awards. So it was game developers themselves voting, and they voted Untitled Goose Game as, Game of the Year that year. And to me, it was really kind of shocking, because I was like, is it really that good? But of course, never had much desire to play it. Then, fast forward, I don't know how many years, 2-3 years, I wound up getting I should have looked up the name, but PlayStation Plus Premium, whichever tier gives you access to their game catalog, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the lowest one, it's the middle one. It's the middle one, so not the highest. And it was because there was another game that actually my daughter wanted to play, and I could either buy the game for $20, or because it was partway through the year, I could pay $13 to upgrade my subscription for the rest of the year and get access to the whole catalog. So I was like, well, I'd be silly not to pay the $13. I get that game that my daughter wanted, but then I also get to try out the PlayStation Plus Premium tier or whatever, and get access to all these games I've never played. Some of them are interesting, some of them aren't. And lo and behold, Untitled Goose Game was one of them. So I downloaded the game, and one night, my daughter, I think she wasn't in bed. Usually, a lot of the time, I'm not playing games till she's in bed. She was playing, and she was playing on her own, and she was fine doing that. And I kind of was like, hey, to my wife, do you want to try and put a game on? And she was like, sure. And I downloaded Untitled Goose Game, and I handed her a controller, and I had a controller on PS5, of course. And as we started to play through it, I think we were both sort of enamored with its charm. It is a very charming game. It's got that sort of, I don't know, polite Britishness behind it. And then we got to one of the parts that you would have seen in the video you just had up, where there's there's a boy who has glasses on, and there's a soccer ball, and there's a puddle, and you can actually trip him into the puddle, knocking his glasses off, and you get a trophy for it, for bullying the kid. And that happened. And me and I don't think we have laughed harder at a video game than when we popped a trophy for tripping a kid and knocking his glasses off into a puddle. It was so funny. And after that, we just loved it. My wife and I played the entire rest of the game. Can't remember if we got all the trophies, but we ran through it. And then, of course, the next day we showed my daughter, and it became one of these games that, like, when my wife and I want a good laugh, we'll play it. My daughter loved just running around as a goose, and, co-op. So I'm running around as a goose. She's running around as a goose. I'm kind of telling her, grab the little garden shovel, hide it in the bush so the gardener doesn't have it. And then I show her how to, knock over the gardener and grab his hat, run, and that kind of stuff. And so anyways, had a total, complete blast with Untitled Goose Game. And it easily became one of my favorite games of all time, just from that experience. So
that's awesome. That's such a great
shout
story.
out that game. Yeah.
Play Untitled Goose Game if you haven't already. That
Absolutely.
is a really cool game. Not that long, I don't think either, right? Like,
no,
I mean, I beat it pretty quick.
If you just kind of mainline it, or even if you just have some skill at video games in general, you could beat it in 2-3 hours. I think there's a trophy or like an optional checklist item or something for beating the game in like 30 minutes or whatever. Like, you can just speedrun it, but enjoy it. Take your time, mess around, play with the mechanics. It's the best goose simulator out there, that's for sure.
It's the best mess around with human simulator.
Yeah,
that's the real power fantasy here.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that's such a great story. I love that for you guys. Moving on to our topic of the show, we kind of hinted at it earlier, but Jordan and I were probably new to your ear holes, so you don't know us very well. But Jordan came up with this idea where we share our favorite limited edition game controllers from our entire lives. Like, we've been playing video games for a long time, so we have encountered many game controllers. When you Discord messages to me, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can think of some. And to be honest, it took me a little while to think of some because I don't think I own too many limited edition game controllers. So I ended up just kind of picking some that, well, some I did own, some I kind of owned. You'll see. But basically, like, these are game controllers that the ones that you can just pull off the shelf. These are limited edition ones that maybe they came out for a little bit as a promotion or something that you can buy as a consumer. So I got 3. How many do you have, Jordan?
I have. So I bent the rules a little bit on one of them because it is definitely one that you could pretty easily get at the time.
Yeah, that's fine.
But for me, it's an all-timer, so I had to include it in my favorites.
Sure.
And then I have some honorable mentions that I would shout out if you'll allow it.
For sure, of course. And if you're watching the YouTube version or the video version, I'm going to try my best to pull up a visual what do you call it?
Picture.
I was going to say visual representation, but it's literally what it is.
It's just a picture.
Just
it is
a picture.
the controller.
I'll try to pull up a visual picture of it for you to check out. So, Jordan, would you like to go first?
Sure. Why don't I start with some of my honorable mentions? Just because that's easy. Now, I'll make it hard on you because I'll shout out 2 honorable mentions that I don't physically have. So, of course, I grew up and I mostly play on PlayStation. So I don't have any Xbox controllers. But one controller that I just love, and you'll notice a bit of a theme here, is the Xbox 360 C3PO controller.
Okay.
So C3PO, like from Star Wars. And this was a limited edition controller that Xbox released in partnership with Star Wars, I guess. Now, I believe they also did... Okay, I think it's the top right there.
This guy.
So, yeah. So I'm not sure how well the color's coming across. If you go for the second row on the left, that one, the color looks a little better. That one. Oh, it's a little too small. But anyways,
keep up.
This controller is kind of a bit of a dream for me. I like gold. So that was a terrible Austin Powers 3 impression. Anyways, I really like gold and black together. And this controller, the only thing I'm not a big fan of is the colorful Xbox buttons, the face buttons on the Xbox. But other than that, I really love the gold with the black knobs and the silver directional pad there. But then also the just to make it a little more C3PO, of course, on the bottom there, you can see they've got the black band of the controller, but it's got these painted on C3PO cords, right? You know how in C3PO's sort of torso body cavity, you can see all the wires. And they kind of did that on the bottom of the controller. So I really like this one. Again, kind of an honorable mention because I'm not sure it would be so great once you're playing it because, of course, your hands get a little sweaty or maybe you're snacking, they get a little greasy, and that controller is going to show that big time. But in terms of pure looks, pure vibes, this one definitely gets a honorable mention shout out for me.
Yeah, I feel like if it's glossy like that, for audio listeners, it's like a glossy gold, super reflective. You can see in the photo I have, you can see the ceiling that the thing was taking.
The ceiling lights.
I feel like one touch is gonna put your palm prints on it.
Yeah, this is one that you get a nice little wall mount and you stick it on the wall because very cool. I think it may have actually released alongside a limited edition R2D2 Xbox 360.
Oh, that'd be
which,
sweet.
if memory serves me, is also really cool looking. But anyways, the sort of I'm a Star Wars guy as well, so I'm a big fan of that.
I feel like they should have swapped that because you don't touch the console as much as you touch the controller. So
yeah, fair enough.
Is that little finger button, is that part of the design, or
I don't know.
It's like a little sticker.
Check another picture and see if that little there's a weird hand in the center of the controller that I don't know.
Maybe that's just like a packaging thing.
Yeah,
cool. That's a great first pick.
That one gets one of my. Oh, there's the 360, the R2D2 Xbox 360. So yeah, there you go. Another one of my honorable mentions, and one that you'll have to search up, is the Wii U Wind Waker gamepad. Now, there are very few instances where I would say that the Wii U did anything right, but this was a special edition Wii U that was released with Wind Waker HD. So, of course, an HD remake of the GameCube classic Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. And I really like what they did with this gamepad. Again, like I said, there's a bit of a theme behind a lot of mine, black and gold. So those Legend of Zelda markings on the gamepad, kind of a yellow, but kind of a gold look to them just on the black gamepad. So I really like what they did. I find it's subtle enough, and also it's symmetrical. I like a good symmetry to the controller. So other than on the bottom left, they've got a classic Legend of Zelda logo there. Other than that, the Zelda sort of markings around the outer edge are just are all consistent and symmetrical. So I like that one quite a bit. And like I say, I'm not going to say too many good things about the Wii U, but that was one of them. So
I dig that. Yeah. I like how the little NFC thing is also gold. That's and I guess the buttons as well. I miss my Wii U, man. I sold it to my friend's dad, who like is using it like to play Mario, or using it pretty much as a Wii. But I'm like, man, there were some good times with the Wii U. Mario Run.
It's actually so funny that you say that, because my parents have mine.
Oh.
When my dad got back when Netflix released Formula One Drive to Survive, the very first season, my dad watched it, fell in love with Formula One, and then he texted me one day and was like, I'm itching to play a racing game. And he was like, I don't know how realistic I want it to be just yet. Like, I haven't played video games in probably 20 years kind of thing. And I was like, have I got the solution for you? So I gave him my Wii U with Mario Kart and said, you want to get into racing games? Start with this. And if you really like it, we'll upgrade you to Forza or Gran Turismo or F1, right? There are actual F1 games.
Just get him the whole racing chair and the sim and iRacing.
If we could, he would absolutely love that.
That's funny.
He never made it past Mario Kart, but he still has my Wii U. So anyways.
Amazing.
Yeah. Do you want two more honorable mentions?
Sure, if they're quick.
Okay, yeah, we'll make them quick.
And you came loaded.
I came loaded. And these ones you don't have to look up, because I've got one of them right here.
Let me bring your eyes back.
This is a PlayStation 3 controller.
What?
And it, I believe it was released around the launch of an MLB game. I don't know which, because I never got the game. But I got the controller because it's just such a cool design.
For audio,
it's all white. Sorry. For audio listeners, it's all white, just a white PS3 controller. But the two circular areas where the directional buttons and the face buttons have the sort of red stitching of a baseball in a sort of circular pattern. So it kind of looks like the two halves are baseballs. So anyways, one of my favorites, and just a really nice design.
I actually love that. That's cool.
Yeah, very cool one. Now the other ones, my other honorable mentions here. One, gold PS3 controller.
Or Dual Shock 4. Yeah.
And gold PS4 controller.
Oh,
the light's
cool.
Not showing super well on that one.
Wow.
But along with that gold PS4 controller, we've got titanium blue PS4 controller, and we've got silver PS4 controller.
Wow.
So, as you can tell, I like shiny things. But
that's sick.
There
like
you
Olympic
have
medals.
That's
like
right.
Olympic medals.
If they had I think they actually do have a bronze one that I never did get, but I'm a big fan of it. So there you have it. Those are my honorable mentions, just honorable mentions.
Ooh. All right, well, it's hard to top that. I don't have any honorable mentions. My honorable mention is my black PS4 controller that somehow the thumbsticks became like sticky after we put it in a box for a while. That has
happened to almost all of my old controllers. It's gross.
What's up with
I don't understand it, but it's like the rubber gets oily. It's weird.
Yeah, from not touching it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love controllers though. I felt like I owned too many controllers, but now seeing your collection, I'm like,
this is a fraction of my collection.
Yeah, right? I'm like, oh, I got so many. I got the Stadia one right here that I use just on my PC.
Okay.
Like, they were giving these out for free for folks who had YouTube Premium, and I did. So I was like, sure.
Really? I didn't know that. Dang.
Anyways, maybe I'll start with my first.
If you'd like to do all three of yours, since I just talked for so long, that's fine. It's totally up to you.
No, I'll just do one. I think I like it if we go back and forth. So my first one, if you're watching the video version and you were peeking at my tabs, maybe you might have spoiled it for yourself. But my first one is actually one I don't own, unfortunately. I do own the normal one, and it is the Death Stranding Backbone controller.
Oh, Backbone. Okay.
Yeah, so Backbone, if you don't know, is a controller that clips onto the side of your phone. That like extends out and it clamps onto the side of your phone, and it gives your phone pretty much like the Switch style buttons on one side. And I have the black one. I have the normal one. But a couple months ago, years ago now, they came out with a Death Stranding version, which is the same shape, but it's translucent yellow. And the yellow, I will admit, is not the most appealing yellow. It's like a very beer, like
I was going to say, some might say urine.
Yeah, urine yellow, but it's in theme of the game. And I feel like because not many things are this color, it kind of makes it iconic. Right. So if I didn't already own a Backbone, I definitely would have gotten this yellow one. And that is my first pick. If I had a lot of money, I would have gotten this translucent yellow Backbone controller for my phone.
Kidding.
That being said, I also don't use my Backbone that much. There's just not too many games I play on my phone. The one game I would like to use a controller for is Pokemon Unite, but it doesn't support it on mobile.
Lame.
But yeah, the translucent yellow Death Stranding Backbone controller is my first pick.
Definitely not one I've seen before, so that's cool.
They also came out bonus honorable mention. I think they came out with a Post Malone one, which is a translucent green, which is like, I don't know if Post Malone's known for this green, but sure.
I kind of dig that. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's a little more regal looking, but I'm like, I didn't know Post Malone was known for being green.
Or into the Backbone. Like, what?
Yeah,
why?
Right? Yeah.
But okay, sure.
She did that collab with Apex too. I'm like, oh, this guy's just everywhere.
Okay, fair enough.
Jordan, what's your first pick?
All right, so for my first pick, my first real pick, I'll actually make you Google this one because I don't have this one. And I'm going to show some love to the Xbox this time. The Xbox One Lunar White controller.
Great. Now, describe it while I pull up the thing.
Okay, it's kind of in keeping with the theme that I have, but this one, mostly white. Top left there, you got it. Mostly white, but with the Xbox One black highlight across the top. All black with gray face buttons, but then the D-pad is gold, and as well as I forget what the buttons are called.
The start and select, whatever.
The start and select,
the hamburger
start and
select
buttons on the Xbox One controller are also the button is white, but the image on it is gold as well. So this one, again, as I said, black and gold. Obviously, this one's mostly white. I just really like how clean this one looks. Doesn't stick to the symmetry rule that I mentioned before, just because only the D-pad is gold. But I really like the simple design of this one. I don't know how limited this one was, but overall, just a clean look. I do actually think that the Xbox One controller might be one of my favorite just controller designs in general. It just looks so clean with that black bar across the top, feeding into the shoulder buttons and everything like that. So
yeah,
I really like that one. Purely an aesthetic thing. I've never owned an Xbox One. Don't know if I've ever held an Xbox One controller now that I think about it. 360, yes. And Series S and X, yes. But I don't know if I've ever touched an Xbox One controller now that I think about it. So
I've owned an Xbox One, and I would say it's pretty similar to the Series S and X controller. Like feel-wise, it's definitely pretty comparable. And I like this pick. It reminds me of, well, black and white reminds me of the Stormtrooper, but the gold accents or the gold little touches kind of elevate that a little bit. And I dig it.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
Cool. My turn again?
Yeah, let's hear your number two.
Number two. This one is from nostalgia. I'm going to keep the screen share open for those
watching.
If
we have the same number two.
Well, probably not. Not going to say.
No? Okay.
But my number two is the Wii Zapper.
Okay, we do not. We do not have the same number two. Never mind.
The Wii Zapper, way back when the Wii came out, there was actually, now that I think about it, I'm not even sure if this counts as a controller because
it's a peripheral modification for the controller. I'll take it.
Yeah, because like with the Wii, you had the remote and the nunchuck, and then what this peripheral is you'd set them with the nunchuck in the back and the Wii remote in the front, and it has this like gun stock design, and it is like more or less supposed to emulate a gun. while still giving you access to all your controls. And the reason why this ranks high for me is because it came in a time where my youngest brother was old enough to be allowed to like play shooting games. Yeah. So then my mom's like obliged, like, okay, we'll get Link's crossbow training in this thing. So I was like, oh, finally, not now we're mature. Now we can play Link's crossbow training. So and like feel wise, this was actually quite comfortable to use, like hitting all the buttons and playing the games. I think we also played a little bit of Conduit. Not sure if that's a deep cut, but Conduit on the Wii was
a little bit,
was like kind of a rated M game, but it was like a shooter kind of first person kind of game. And it used or played best with this kind of controller as well. So that while also holding a gun shape and playing a shooting game, it was really cool for a little 13-year-old Samson, just to be able to pretend I'm shooting a gun. So the Wii Zapper, I don't know if people remember this fondly, but I definitely do, because the first game that we were allowed to shoot in. And then after that, it was like Counter-Strike.
Bit of a jump, but
yeah.
Hey, why not?
But yeah, the Wii Zapper.
Very cool. That's an interesting one. I do remember my friend trying to talk me into how cool Link's crossbow training was, and me being like, nah, this ain't cutting it. So, anyways, good pick though. Good pick.
Thank you. The game itself was like pretty straightforward. I don't remember much from the game. I just remember honestly, I feel like we played pretend with this peripheral, like running around the house, like playing fake laser tag or something, as well as playing Link's crossbow training.
Yeah.
What's your next pick, Jordan?
Well, before we get there, I was just going to say, funny thing is, I mean, this just reminds me of the era where PlayStation tried to copy everything that Nintendo did.
Yeah.
And of course, they released the PS3 Move Sharpshooter controller.
Okay, let me try to pull that up.
PlayStation 3 Move Sharpshooter.
There
it is.
Oh, interesting. Yep. I don't think I've seen this before.
I think it came out with Killzone 3, which some of those you'll see the branding for Killzone 3 on it. A much more traditional, they clearly made it look a lot more like a gun, but a different design, right? The Move controller, the thing with the ball, went in the front, and then the analog stick, whatever they called that nub, kind of went in the front under that as well. But you still had a trigger and all these things that kind of went back like a traditional gun.
Has an adjustable stock. That's wild.
And this one is like, compared to the sharpshooter at least gave you a trigger to use like a gun. This one, I don't believe the trigger actually did anything, because I don't think that is connected to anything on the controller. I could be wrong. I don't think I've ever used this thing, but oh no, maybe it does. Oh yeah, and look above the trigger. There's a square and a triangle button there.
That's wild.
Okay, apparently this thing was way more intense than I thought. But anyways, then of course they revamped it and made the PlayStation Aim wireless controller a way less cool looking, but a lot more simple design.
That is kind of jarring.
Yeah, and I never really understood how they went from this cool looking gun to this PVC pipe tube that's basically a rectangle tube where you stick the Move controller in the front, and it has a big ball on the end.
Yeah. Can't say this looks like a gun. Maybe that's kind of what they were going
for. But apparently it was super comfortable and worked well. Sure. I don't know. I never really.
I guess in the game, you're
although
like
I did have PlayStation
pretending anyways. What's a funny looking thing?
True.
Interesting. Cool.
All right.
Today I'll end.
But my actual number 2 is, of course, again, probably more widely available than I'd like to think, but I like to think it's not. The PlayStation 4 20th anniversary controller. So this, of course, they did release a 20th anniversary, a PlayStation 20th anniversary PS4, and it came with this controller, but they also sold the controller on its own. And it is a PS4 controller, DualShock 4, designed to look like a PlayStation 1 controller. So it's got the classic gray of the PlayStation 1. They brought back the old colorful logo for the PlayStation Home button there. And yeah, just this one definitely plays on the nostalgia factor, but easily one of my favorites. I think once I got this, it kind of became the standard that I used, just for the throwback. And I think the big thing about that was, I think that was the first time we kind of really saw PlayStation celebrate their legacy in a lot of ways, right? Other than maybe PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, which, hey, good game, but came out on the PS3. Anyways, I think that was one of the first times where PlayStation was kind of willing to admit that they had a legacy and they had a history that people would embrace. And by all means, I think it sold really well and everything. Such a cool idea. And I really hope they do more of that in the future. I think we're coming up on the 30th anniversary now. Will they release a 30th anniversary edition PS5?
Oh, I
kind of doubt it, because I think maybe they'll save it for like a 50, you know? I think they did the 20 and that's a big milestone, but I think they'll kind of wait to do it again. So anyways, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Quick shout out to the DualSense. I think that's my favorite controller of all time. It's just comfy to hold and it's got cool features.
PlayStation 5, you mean?
Yeah.
DualSense? Yeah, absolutely. I think functionally, probably my favorite controller, although I've never had an Elite or a what's the new the back paddle DualSense called?
DualSense Pro.
Sure, whatever it's called. Yeah,
Super DualSense.
I want one, but I'm not willing to fork over $250 or $300 for it. So
Canadian fun bucks.
Exactly.
I mean, if you ever want to use my Xbox Elite controller, I actually don't prefer it when I play on PC. I actually prefer the Stadia controller on the PC because it's lighter.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
So if you ever want to use it, I'll ship it over.
Ship it to me
somehow. All right,
enough.
Cool. I actually really like that controller as well. Didn't they release like a blue one for some other event?
This is one that I left off the list, but I really should have included in my honorable mentions. Arguably, I have to assume one of the rarest, because they also released the PlayStation 4 500 million
that's
limited edition console, and it came with a controller, and it was for the PlayStation 4 reached 500 million sales. That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
It was 500 something, 500,000 maybe, I don't know.
Sure.
But they released a limited number of this console that was like a translucent dark blue color, and it was a really cool color, and it came with a controller that matched it. And yeah, I mean, if you're pulling up a picture, it was really cool. And it was like so limited that I believe on the console itself, it had a little tag that actually said what number you got.
Yeah.
Because they only made 5,000 of them or something like that.
The Days of Play limited blue edition.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, no. I think you're looking at a different one, actually. Scroll up. Right. So wait. Bottom row. Or yeah, right where your mouse was, actually. These are two different ones. Yeah, that's the
500
one
million.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
500 million. Okay. So it was 500 million.
So there's only
anyways,
1,000.
It's got the on the front there, it's got a little tag that tells you which number out of however many they made you have. And the logo is kind of a bronze color, which is also really cool. So
that is fancy.
I had a controller to match, which is another cool one.
$4,000 Canadian. They can ship
it's a PlayStation 4 Pro. Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a Pro.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I got one more controller.
Mm-hmm.
Also kind of unconventional. Let me paint the picture a little bit. So in the years of 2007 to 2012-ish, Samson was really into Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
Okay.
It was
where this is going.
I loved those games so much, it caused me to join the school's band program.
Oh, wow.
So that's where I spent my youth is in music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of those games that came out that I remember really fondly is Rock Band Beatles edition.
Rock wonderful!
Band Beatles. So
Beatles are one of my favorite bands. So.
Yeah, and actually before that, I didn't even. Well, I've heard of the Beatles, but I didn't care to listen to their music until this game came around, and I got the game. I didn't buy the whole bundle because I already had the instruments at that point.
Sure.
But there was only one instrument I really wanted from that bundle, and that was the Hofner bass guitar controller.
Nice.
Because at the school I went to, the music teacher had the actual version of this guitar and he played it. So I was like, what? There's like a video game version of this controller. So like functionally, it does not do anything different than like
A Rock Band
other
controller.
Guitar Hero Rock Band controllers. Actually, being the nerd that I am, I actually don't really like the Rock Band controller. I prefer the Guitar Hero ones.
Boo! I'm a Rock Band guy.
It's not a mushy. The mushy strum bar is the deal breaker.
It's all about the mush.
but yeah, this controller, I was just like, I think this was the first time I saw not like the Stratocaster you see a whole bunch of, but this is like not a Stratocaster, and they made a toy version of it for better or for worse. So I thought that was really cool. Wouldn't say I would go out of my way to own it now, like, but I really almost like, I don't know how I would have done it because I was like a teenager with no job. I really wanted this controller, even though just to collect, I guess.
Yeah. Do you still have it?
My Guitar Hero controller?
Yeah. Oh, he's pulling it out. He's pulling it out, audio listeners. I did consider looking at Rock Band and Guitar Hero peripherals as one of my, but I did not go for it. But
if you're watching the video version, here is my original Guitar Hero 3 controller from 2007. It has seen
for
better
the Wii.
days. For the Wii, yeah. It's got the Wii hole. It's got stickers and
hole.
decals.
Don't say wheel.
But yeah, the buttons are like, it still works. I bought a special adapter for PC so I can play Clone Hero.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, this thing still works. A little dirty. I should give it some TLC. And I was also thinking of, now there's like mods. We're going on a tangent. There's physical mods you can do to these controllers where you can replace the buttons, and instead of these membrane type of keys, you can replace with mechanical keys and the strum bar as well, so it's more responsive. So I consider doing that, but this thing is quite older than...
Still trucking though.
Yeah, no, it still works. I always compare it to like when I work with kids more. Like it's older than some of the kids I work with.
Oh yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So
good pick.
Yeah, thank you. What's your final pick, Sir Dr. JM?
My final pick, like I said, definitely this is the one where I bent the rules. Not that limited edition. Pretty common, pretty easy to come by, I think, even now. But I had to pull it up. Just absolutely had to. This is the PlayStation 2 Ocean Blue SCPH-10010L, released on July 18th, 2002.
Whoa!
It's the translucent PS2 controller. Translucent blue PS2 controller. And that's right. I liked it so much I have to. Just the coolest translucent controller. Back when this fad was still around. Arguably one fad that should absolutely come back. And if you do play on Xbox these days, just today, Xbox announced a brand new translucent blue Xbox One controller that is, or Xbox Series controller, sorry, that very in the same vein. And my gosh, it almost made my list, but unfortunately I'd already written down my list, so I didn't go back. But yeah, definitely one of my all-time favorites, and I think widely regarded as a lot of people's favorite controller from back in the day.
I feel like I've seen that controller. Like I've played on that controller before. That is pretty iconic. So that's a great,
like I say, I think it's pretty common. I think even when the PS2 was around, you could pretty easily pick it up. I remember there's a green variant as well that I used to always see and wish I could get. But anyways, it's one of my faves.
Yeah. Oh, it's nostalgic.
And very sticky sticks now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They're gross.
Controller maintenance is a whole other topic. Like, how do you even do it? How do you get around to it?
Yeah.
Cheaper
Totally.
to just buy a new controller.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably, honestly.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing your controllers, and thanks for suggesting this idea. Definitely lots of cool stories on, I guess, like this thing that we use to interface with our games. Like we don't we take it for granted, but these are really cool pieces of tech that companies do sell us, and we enjoy that way.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, listener, do you have a specific controller that we missed off our lists? Like, is there some other Wii accessory that I forgot? The Wii wheel, maybe? I'm not sure. If you do have something, please comment it below. Please tweet at us at Grow Up Level Up or comment on Instagram. That is our show for the week. I am looking forward to playing We Wish You Were Here. What is it called? We something.
We'll see you there.
Thank goodness you're here.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to playing that over camping, like playing video games while camping. We kind of didn't touch on it, but one of my favorite things, even though people are like, oh, I go camping to escape tech. Not me. I'm treating it as more time to enjoy tech.
Portable gaming.
Yeah. That maybe we should do a portable gaming episode in the future. If you would like that,
I'm down. Let's do it.
Jordan, if people want to connect with you and maybe give you a golden, I don't know, Wii remote or golden DualSense, how do people get in contact with you?
Best way to get in contact with me, follow me on Twitter at Sir Dr. JM. That's Sir DRJ. I think I said this last week. I'm not too active over there, but hey, if people start following me, maybe I'll be a little more active. Before we go, I wanted to mention, I brought up this gold PS4 controller. That actually came with my gold PS4 as well.
Oh.
It was a limited edition PS4 and EB Games in Canada ran a promotion where you could bring in pardon me, it's failing on me. You could bring in an original PlayStation 4, like a launch PS4, trade it in, and for like $100 or something, you could get a gold slim PS4. So I did that, got the controller. Anyways, but that's it. Follow me on Twitter at.
Nice. Yeah, I'm hoping they do something similar for the Switch 2, because I do not need my Switch OLED.
Ooh, that'd be great.
Yeah, and if you're looking to connect with me, my name is Samson. I go online as at SamsonXP. On X, I'm at SamsonXP_. But yeah, I'd love to talk all things about video games. I hope that you learned something new today. I hope that we were super cool. Your podcast listen. Thank you again for making it to the end. If you are at the very end, we can put an Apple emoji in the YouTube description. But once again, we'll see you next week where we chat about maybe a Shadow of the Erdtree review and maybe my silly Thank Goodness You're Here review. However, that's next week's news. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and we'll catch you next week. Talk to you later.